Wouldn't that be a cool way to end a fast song? So you're playing along in the key of G, and suddenly there's a C7. It doesn't say anything else, it says C7. Well, like we always say for jazz musicians, that's where you need your stock jazz voicing, right? That'll get you going. But in the key of G, the 4 chord is C. So we're going to make that a Lydian dominant. And that's the topic for today, is finding those chords that function as like 4, but we'll call it 4/7. Not necessarily the actual Roman numeral, but it's going to be a Lydian dominant. So we're taking the 4 chord and making it a dominant, and that's what happens a lot of times in songs, standards in particular. So it's really a nice sound. There's a C7 right there after that first thing. So that's East of the Sun. And the next chord's a C7, and you can nail that with this Lydian dominant. And so that would be an example. So you have a C7 in the key of G, treat it like it's a 4 chord with a flat 7. So we've talked about that chord in other places. I've mentioned Lydian flat 7 in earlier blues videos, so you can look that up and go there to find out more about that. And again, we're not really doing chord scales today, but we're just trying to find voicings. Why do we voice things a certain way? Why did they play this and not that? So in this case, when you see that happen, we're looking for the Lydian triad today. The Lydian triad is easy to find. It's a whole step above the root of the chord you're playing. So if my chord is C7, I'm looking for a D triad. And there it is. And that last thing I played at the beginning of the video, I was just resolving half-step resolution, played a big C7, and then to be fancy at the end, I played D and F sharp, which is 9 and sharp 11. So that gave me the Lydian sound. So the other great way to end any song is to put the Lydian note on it. So you can put the Lydian triad on at the end of any song. So we're using only dominant chords today. So like but a blues, it doesn't matter if you ended your blues ends in B flat, B flat 7 is your last chord of your blues, and the Lydian triad is a C triad, whole step above B flat. It's a great sound. We could invert it. It's just the thing you're looking for. So back to the C7. It's a D triad. We can play it this way. And notice we have 3rd and 7 here, and then there's no doubling at all. Yay, what a concept. We didn't double a thing. And you can invert that guy up and keep this the same. So you'll notice I'm just doing inversions of the Lydian triad over my stock jazz voicings. So here we go. We're playing, in a whole other key now, and let's say that we're in the key of D. The 4 chord in the key of D is G, and we're playing in the key of D, and suddenly there's a G7. And so my whole step above G is A. There's my Lydian triad. And so that's going to be my voicing. I resolved to a D there, but what if it doesn't go to D? So it doesn't matter. If you see anything that's 4, make it dominant. I'm sorry, if you see a dominant chord that is 4 in that key, you know to make it a Lydian dominant. And that was how we'll put that. Now I'm going to put that up here in writing clearly so that you can have that as a rule, but that's the way to go. So you want to take all your stock jazz voicings, and we'll start with F. Here's one. And the Lydian triad is a whole step above, so we're looking for a G triad. It's a great sound. Okay, and now we're going to do the other inversion, and I'll invert the triad. Doesn't that sound great? So then we could go to B flat, and a whole step above. Great way to learn them. And you can just get a circle, like I used to put the circle on the piano and just have it, that would just tell me the root to play. So I do, the circle would go in order, you know, C, G, D, A, or C, F, B flat, and so on. And I would just take turns going either way. So if I'm looking at the circle, you know, I would think, okay, I'm doing all Lydian dominants. So here's my jazz voicing, and that means I'm doing a D triad. My next one up here is G, so I need a G7 and the Lydian dominant. And my next one is going to be D7 and the Lydian dominant. So then I might just stop, say there's 3. I want to get good at 3 today. So the next day I'll say, okay, wow, I've got 3 chords going, 3 dominant chords, and I really got the Lydian thing into my hand now. So the next one after E, dominant is, I'm sorry, the next one we just did was D. The next one after D dominant is A, and so that's going to be a B triad. This is a great way to comp. So this is the 4 chord in a blues for sure. When you play a blues, if you really want to spice that thing up, you put this in. Put the Lydian dominant in on the 4 chord, and it's going to make it sound wonderful. It's the Lydian note that really crushes it or makes it stand out. So on that A7, for example, that D sharp, and highlighting the triad, then we can go to E, I'm just going around the circle of fifths. So, and I was going by fifths. Other times I'll go by fourths. And you should be able to go either way, and also start in the middle. So you don't just always start on C. Remember, like I said in another video a while ago, the goal is not to have this real fast where you just go boom, 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 boom. Okay, I got it in 12 keys. You're trying to hear these. You're trying to reflect on these and really become connected, so that this sound becomes yours. Because then, when you get all the Lydian dominant idea down, you know, you can put that in any song you want, okay? That was not a Lydian dominant, so that's why I'm not going to show you the overhead on that clam. But we want this. And then we could have E flat. D flat, and we can go down a half step to C, about a half step down to B, This is why I tell everyone to practice your triads. Practice your basics. Because you're never going to know when you need them or where you really want them. So if you have good command over your triads, major triads and minors, this is an example of where you're glad you did that. Because then you can really play on that. And you could play some of those arpeggiated figures, or you can comp like that and jump up by inversions when you're comping behind someone. So, you may not be that quick at recognizing Roman numerals yet, and that's something you can work on looking in your real book or your fake books. So you're looking down the chart and you're thinking, all right, so are there any places in this song where there's a dominant seventh that is 4 in the key I'm playing in? So is there a B flat 7 in this song that's in the key of F major? Right? You know, this is where you're going to be putting your Lydian sound in. So if so, then you want that, that chord to just be on command. If you're in the key of B flat major, is there a Lydian dominant? Is there a E flat 7 anywhere in this song in the key of B flat? Where I would play Lydian. And it makes a great sound. And it makes a great ending, as you can see there. So what I did was I ended on an E flat 7. Lydian dominant for the 4 chord. 4 chord in the blues, and also the ending of a song. So it doesn't matter whether it says C7, G7, D7, B7, who cares? If the song ends on a dominant chord, if everyone else in the band is holding the chord, you can play sharp 11 and everyone's going to go, yeah. See you next time.